I've been part of several selection processes over the years in cities all around the state of Missouri. I recently completed a selection process. Some of you know I'm the chair of the state 911 oversight board. We just went through a similar process with a search company to select an executive director for the state 911 board. I have some idea of what it will cost to go through that particular project. When we were going through the election in the fall of 18, one of the things that we heard over and over again was that we wanted to make sure that we got the best candidates possible, that we wanted to look outside of the local area. We felt that it had been detrimental over the years to have had an elected chief and relied on candidates that came from Belton. Hearing that, my suggestion then, my request is that the city employ a firm that specializes in executive searches like that. I know that it cost about $26,000 to hire the company that did this latest search for the executive director. On top of the dollars just paid for that, I requested additional dollars. I don't know if that will come in at $10,000. I don't know if that contract would come in at $40,000, but I do know that besides what it would cost to hire the consulting firm, the city would then be expected to fund any extra expenses in the form of advertising, printing, any other contacts that are made, any travel expenses that would be incurred by candidates that would come here to interview, video conferencing, any of these other things would also be added into that. So my request for that process was $50,000. I also requested that there be, and knowing that that would be an extended timeline. If this is approved and the budget goes into effect April 1, I don't believe that you would even have an RFP done and a company hired to do that search until probably June. Then they're going to meet with city staff in order to come up with selection criteria, the process, how it's going to be followed. That's probably going to be another 30 days before they get to a point where they're even ready to advertise the position. That position is going to stay open for another 30, 60, 90 days, and at the end of that time, they're going to bring a list of candidates to the city. They're going to narrow that list down. You're going to have finalists that are going to be interviewed. That whole process, even to get to the point where someone is selected, is probably another 60 days at a minimum that's going to take to get done. My original proposal was that we try to have a chief identified, ready to be announced, that the council can give final approval to the city manager selection sometime late November, early December. The announcement could be made. That person could give proper notification to their current employer, and they would be ready to come on board sometime in January. That way they would be working with city administration and the city council through the budget process. I've also been informed that there are going to be other retirements in the administration of the police department. I don't think it would be appropriate to leave this person cold, have them come on 1st of April and know that they've got to replace their command staff, they've got to replace administrative staff, and they're looking at a brand new budget that they've never seen before. I think it would be much more appropriate to have a smooth transition period, bring them on sometime January, February, have them work into the 1st of April when I'm gone. A lot of people are going to applaud that. When I'm gone and when that command staff is gone, so goes the knowledge and history of what's gone on in budgets past, what's gone on in how some of the ordinances have been passed, what's gone on with enforcement practices in the past. So I believe no, I'm not going to continue to run the police department. When someone else is appointed when they come on board. Strictly, it's gonna be their department. I will be around for a consultant. I had no intention of ever spending $170,000 to have somebody come on April of 20 and work until I retire April of 21. That was never my thought, that was never my plan, that was never my recommendation.
Thank you.
You're up.
Thank you, Chief. And this would just be the highlights of what Chief Person has stated. The salary range for this position is 96 to 146,000. The amount that we put into this budget is about the same dollar amount that Chief Person is currently making. And want to let everybody know that any unused dollars would remain in that fund, would remain in the general fund. This allows us more time for the learning curve for the new candidate to come in, understand the learning curve of the city, department, operations, and prepare for staff replacement that Chief Person has alluded to, that we know that we're going to have additional staff that are going to be retiring at about the same time as he is. And this would allow them to come in, get established, and be able to have a better transition for the city of Belton, and not have be down multiple positions in administration due to a late process.